Yo, what is going on, guys? We're back today for another video, and in today's video, we're talking about the top 5 best buffs of 2021. So, let's not get twisted. The point of this video is the best individual champion buffs of 2021, not the best, like, buff champions. Like, if I'm rating all the buff champions, like, who's the best, who's second, third, this list would be a lot different. This video is about the ranking the buffs. So, it's, like, taking a champ from 0 to hero is going to make them go higher and higher on the list. So the worse they are and the better that they come out, that's like what I'm rating this on, like how good that buff was, how many levels did it take them up, right? So that's what I mean by the best buffs of 2021. For this video's sake, I was trying to do it. I was trying to do a top 10 originally, but there's so many good buffs this year. It was just too hard for me to do. So I was like, you know what? I think I can narrow it down to like top 5. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So yeah, this was definitely not easy. There's definitely a lot of really good buffs this year, especially really good ones actually, which is awesome. It's really good to see the roster of this game just getting a lot better and more useful. So starting us off at number 5, this class has just had a glow up, man, a really good glow up. So the skill class, man. There's going to be more than one character from this class on the list today. And so starting us off is the boy Kingpin. So Kingpin, I've always liked Kingpin, actually. Not in this game, technically. In mcoc, but just not in the mobile version of the game. He's my favorite character on the arcade version. Which, if you didn't know, yes, there is an arcade game version of mcoc where it's actually PvP. It's actually really cool, and I've played against Kabam employees. So here's a fun story. There's one at Comic-Cons where I've played this. It's at Dave & Buster's, and so Kabam John was there, and there's another Kabam employee there as well. I think we were having a meetup. And so I'd been playing on the machine all night, and when you play on the machine, you get random characters at first, because your first time playing, and then you get cards. And so the cards you get, you can use them again later. So you come back, bring the card, scan it, and then boom, you have that character. So you get just card. So you get like a Blade card, a Stark Spidey card, like, right? So I have a whole bunch of cards. I still have them, man. I'm ready. I'm ready if anyone wants to challenge me. I would love to like enter a tournament for this. It's really fun. It's very different than like. It's just weird because it's on an arcade. You got a joystick and buttons, like actual buttons to press, but it's still fun. And so Brian Grant versed Kabam John for $5, and Kabam John won. And it was really funny because Kabam John, I remember him saying, he's like, "Finally, Kabam has got some money from you," and it's because like at this time Brian had never had a second account where he spent on or anything, so this was literally Kabam getting his money for the very first time. It is so funny, man. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I was spectating. I'm like, all right, I'm up next. I'm like, I'll play you for $5. So I played John for $5, and I beat him. So I basically got Brian's $5. And my boy Kingpin, man. My boy Kingpin, I'd never lost with him on the arcade game because his belly bumps, he can just go unstoppable. So you can just do a heavy like anytime, and it's so good. It's so strong on the arcade game specifically. So like I've always had a special place for this guy Kingpin, man. Watching Daredevil, he was such an awesome villain in that show, man. I love Kingpin. So, but in the mobile game, I've never been a fan. Until he got buffed. Now he's insane, and I'm really happy to have him as a 6-star. I've heard different things. I've heard he needs like high sig. I've heard he only needs sig 1. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely want to learn more about him and play him more, because from what I've seen, he seems pretty insane, and the healing with willpower is nuts. And yeah, man, Kingpin just one of really good buffs this year, because before, I feel like no one played Kingpin, no one talked about Kingpin. He was pretty trash. And now, there's a lot of rank 3 Kingpins out there. There's a lot of talk of Kingpin. And so I really think this buff really took him up to a much higher level. And yeah, he gets the number 5 spot on the list. Might be a little biased because of my little story with him. And I've always liked him. But yeah, it's number 5 Kingpin. So coming in at the number 4 spot, we jump to the science class. We have Miles Morales. So I recently took this guy up to rank 2, and I can take him to rank 3. I'm thinking about it. I'm a really big fan of the buff. You know, first of all, this is one of the funniest buffs I'd say that we've had, because of the whole Summoner Showdown fiasco with Wareham. Miles being bugged on that, and him not getting a second chance, which is baloney. Or, you know, Kabam just leaving it like that. I think that's what's baloney. Like, the whole, I shouldn't even get started on that tournament, man, because I have so many nitpicks about it. So many. But let's stay focused. They basically showed to the world their game's bugged in a tournament, which is unbelievable. But basically how Miles is supposed to work with his spider camo is, if they have unblockable specials, boom, it's guaranteed to miss. So it's 35% chance for special attacks to miss. This miss chance is tripled against the blockable attacks. So yeah, that takes us up over 100%. And so against any unblockable attacks, he should just totally make them all miss. Of course, as long as the opponent doesn't have like true focus or something to counter miss, which that's a really solid piece of utility. It's like Spider-Gwen, you know, with her an unblockable attack, she has like an absurd percentage to evade, but Miles here is with miss instead of evade. So it's kind of like a cool alternative to Spider-Gwen. You know, maybe someone has True Strike, where they counter evade but not miss, you know, a scenario like that where Spider-Gwen wouldn't work with the unblockable specials, but Miles would. And, you know, Miles, he has these missions to complete, and once he does that, he gets way better. And yeah, he just has lots of cool utility. I honestly, I need to play with him more. I haven't really gotten a chance to play with him a ton. I think I'm going to go fight the Collector with him. I feel like that would be a really fun fight for Miles to show off. The only problem is, you know, you kind of got to build him up every fight. That's like my only nitpick with Miles. You know, if there's a way to kind of carry over the spider challenges, not fully, but partially or something throughout a quest, I would really like that. But still, overall, before his buff, he was so trash. Now, again, the variety of the buff just has taken him up to a really usable level with realistic utility in the current end game. So he comes in at number 4 on my list. Now, the next 3 spots are held by very good characters, which their buffs were some of the best of the whole year, and it's really shown. So next up, we have ULTRON. So ULTRON is one of, I'd say, the most intriguing buffs of the year. Not for any in-game reason, for only out-of-game reasons. I've literally had someone come to me in a stream and say, ULTRON can outdamage Cosmic Ghost Rider in, I think he said, Realm of Legends. And I was taken aback. I was like, dude, are you stoned? Like, what are you saying right now? You're saying ULTRON can outdamage CGR. I'm like, dude, that's got to be so cap. And so the more I talked with this guy, he wasn't lying to me, but, you know, he's talking with synergies and all this stuff. And okay, in perfect ideal scenarios, you know, he's not going to be at his base, you know, he's not going to be outdamaging CGR, which was my biggest gripe. I'm like, dude, you can't be saying he's outdamaging CGR just so freely like that. But he does have some really good damage, and he has so much utility as well. It's pretty insane what all this guy can do. But he is, I don't know if he's still bugged, but he definitely was earlier. I think he might still be. So, but some of the gameplay you might be seeing is that bug gameplay, which I don't think this guy was talking about with the whole CGR thing. But just the amount of support for ULTRON that I've seen from people is honestly astounding to me, and really shows just how good ULTRON is now. I have him at rank 2, might take him up to rank 3. I think some people are overrating him a little bit, just a little bit. But I do think he is really good, and like I said before, you know, ULTRON, he was nothing. He's absolutely nothing before his buff. He was never used. The only time I can even remember someone actually using ULTRON was back when, like, map 6 was like the big bad map AQ thing, And I remember like Brian saying like, yeah, you know, Ultron is suicide, double immune, suicide friendly, got the regen. He's okay for AQ. And that was so long ago. That was so long. That was like 2017 era MCOC. So like, since then, I haven't heard of any uses for this guy, especially not on defense. Like the other Ultron was always the defensive one. So this guy just an absolute zero after this buff taken to a hero. Well, not actually because he's a villain, but yeah, just a really solid buff coming out of Ultron. And hope to see more with this guy, because like I said, there are some real Ultron supporters out there, which it's always a really good thing, I think, in any given game where you have people just really supporting something, or you know, a character, especially a buffed character. I think that's really good for the game, and especially if they post a lot of content about it and stuff. Like, I mean, that was me. I was a total Human Torch simp back when a lot of people didn't think he was that good. And I rallied, and I posted 20 videos, and people started getting to the point of trying to unsub. They're like, dude, we don't care. Human Torch is not God tier. Stop trying to make yourself feel better about spending all your units. And I was like, dude, are these guys not watching the videos? Like, Human Torch is really good. But it just takes time. It honestly just takes time sometimes. It doesn't matter with what videos you post. Sometimes it just takes time, no matter what you're talking about. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump back, like I said, to that skill class. Told you we'd be circling back. And we have my newest rank 3. I haven't even uploaded this yet. Mole Man. So Mole Man comes in at number 2. So Mole Man's an interesting one. He was... When I'm talking about the other characters, they all pretty much went from, like, terrible champion to... and just brought way up. I think Mole Man was definitely above the 3 lower champions pre-buff. Like, all the 4 characters that we've mentioned so far, take away their buffs, I think Mole Man is still the best out of them. Nope, no competition. But I feel like after the buff, Mole Man is at a higher level than the other 3, so that kind of compensates for it. Mole Man, he's honestly he's really ridiculous now. He's so good. I see this guy being used in Alliance War offense a lot, which when I see that, that's how I really know a character is really good, especially after a buff. Mole Man, he had the blueprints to be a really strong champion. And I remember when he first came out, I was like, oh my god, like Skill Corvus. Like, I was hyping him up because, like, on paper, it sounded so good. He had the blueprints there. But things just didn't quite work as well as they should, and it didn't feel as good as it should. And it was one really big change with Mole Man. There's so many good changes with him, but the main one, just with getting into what's it called here? Into Frenzy. Getting into Frenzy is so much easier after the buff, and staying in it is also so much easier. So it's made him just so much easier to play, and it's just taking him to a whole new level. Mole Man, I think he definitely deserves number 2 spot. One of the best skill champions in the entire game. So strong. Absolutely love Mole Man. So glad to have him at rank 3. Can't wait to take him for a spin in war, especially attack and also defense. He's a great defender. He's always been a good defender too. So yeah, that's Mole Man coming in at the number 2 spot. Okay, time for the number 1 absolute best buff of 2021. And this one was so easy. There was no debate in my mind. There was no question. I think this one's pretty undisputed. And that's Diablo, which I don't have as a 6-star. I've been trying to get him as a 6-star from the current 6-star featured. I've been trying to get him and Awaken My Hercules, and I just can't. But yeah, Diablo is absolutely insane, dude. If this was a list just based on the best champions that got buffed for 2021, like ranking them after their buff, you know, like who's best, Diablo would still be number 1. I was writing that list too, and I still had Diablo at my number 1. This guy literally went from an absolute meme to one of the absolute best in the entire class. Undisputed. It's undisputed, man. Diablo is so good after his buff, and he was so bad before it. He literally just did a complete 180. He went from bottom tier to top tier. Full tier. He jumped the whole tier list, man. He jumped through every tier. And it's crazy. It's crazy to see this guy's damage, his regen, his utility. He's got so much going for him now. and I can't pull him, which is frustrating. But yeah, I think it's no debate on the number one here. The rest can totally be debated, but in my mind, Diablo just totally the best buff and the best buff character after the buff of this year. If you're talking other years, then Magneto would probably be the number one. But this Magneto wasn't buffed this year, so he doesn't count. So 2021, the best buff of the year, I think, is Diablo. And yeah, I think Diablo is just crazy. Hope I can get him as a 6-star. I took my 5-star up to rank 5, but at this point, 5 stars just don't excite me anymore like 6 stars do. So I haven't really played with him too much. But yeah, if I can pull that 6-star, gonna have another featured opening pretty soon. Once the gifting rewards come in, I'll probably have like 3 to 5 6-star featured crystals. So gonna be probably our last gambit going for Diablo and Hercdupe. But yeah, guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Top 5 best buff champs of 2021. Let me know if you agree with me down in the comment section down below. If so, drop a like. If you don't agree, you can still drop a like, but tell me why you don't agree. Let me know what is it that you disagree with. Do you think someone else had an even better buff, taking them from 0 to hero than anyone else on this list? Let me know. Like I said, it was definitely close. So there's some champions I could totally see being an argument for. But at the end of the day, there's only 5 spots, so these are the 5 that I landed on. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Peace out.